What's up, YouTube? This is my POV footage from the Twin Cedars Sprint Race 1 for Great Plains XC. This is the over 45 AB class. So even though I'm on a Stark Varg, I got a third place hole shot because I'm not so great at starts. Also, I'm kind of like an anti-Ken Roczen. I'm definitely slower in the beginning because I just don't want to crash. And then I get a little bit better as the race goes on. So maybe a bargain basement version of Hunter Lawrence. So these two guys are out to a good start. The first guy in the class, the guy who won, his name is Craig Chapman. And so theoretically, if I'm having a bad year, he's going to lap me in most long course races because he's about the same speed as my buddy Tate. And again, if I have a bad year, those guys will lap me in the real race. He's like a legit A rider. And then I don't actually know who this second place dude is. He was a nice guy though, because we're in the same class, and he did let me over about halfway through this lap when we are in this really tight spot. He turned over. So if you're new to this, which is probably the only reason you'd be watching this video, is you're new to like hair scramble racing, the etiquette is you're definitely supposed to pull over for anybody who's in your class or who's not in your class. And if they are in your class, then it's kind of like dealer's choice. So some people like to be an amateur version of Vince Freezy, and they will not pull over. They don't care if they're holding up a train of 8 guys. Most people probably will pull over if they know you're faster, even if you're in their class. Now, the etiquette on how to do that is you either rev at them or you yell at them. Since I'm on a Stark Varg, my only real choice is to yell at them. So anyway, I'm following these guys. Some guy on the line in front of us was, I guess, having a rough day, so we caught him pretty quick. And then we dive into the woods. So that's another thing about me. I'm usually pretty fast in the tight stuff for my speed, and then I'm pretty slow in the open stuff for my speed because I just don't like going high speed. That's just one of my weak points. And so my friends will regularly make fun of me for that. And so, but you'll see, I'll probably suck up to these guys pretty quick in the woods. Now, also, I'm on a Stark Varg, so there's no clutch, there's no shifting. You're always in the right gear, so it's a pretty big advantage in this type of stuff anyways. Theoretically, if I had more guts, it'd be an advantage in the wide open too, because I just twist the throttle and go. But that's not how I ride. So anyway, that's what this race is. I ended up getting second place in this race because, again, the dude who outstarted me, he was just, considerate and pulled over when I caught him, and it was clear that he was holding me up. And I'm not going to reel in Chapman unless he crashes. So the Stark Varg is probably the perfect bike for this type of race, the sprint race, because its only real disadvantage or primary disadvantage would be range. And so normally in a race like this, when I don't have to worry about battery life, I run it in 38 horsepower with like 15% regen. I've done test loops on the Red Trail at Cross Timbers, and with like a steady horsepower of like 30, and then I've run 0 regen, 50% regen, and 100% regen. And on that one day that I did that, I got one lap took 27% of the battery life. So the regen really doesn't seem to do much, which you can imagine if you understand, physics and mechanical engineering. Like recapturing a usable source of that energy is just not going to be super efficient. So you're probably better off to do what's best. The person who I think knows the most about this is Shane Piney, and he says what he tries to do is run, like he runs 38 horsepower but tries to be gentle on the throttle, and then I think he uses no regen when he's really trying to milk it to just get the absolute max range that you can. And that was my experience, I think, when I had my Alta Redshift 2, which was that if you run no regen and are just gentle on the throttle, that seems to increase range more than anything else. my long course race on this track sucked. I only got 3 laps because my class was pretty tight except for the first place dude, but like 2 through 6 are pretty bunched up, and so I needed to ride well and aggressive to have a chance to do well, which I did for 3 laps. But then when I got the white flag with another lap and I only had 15% battery left, that just wasn't going to happen. This track was deep, and so it's a bad track for range for people on electric bikes. By the way, I use a GoPro mounted to my chest, so if I'm standing up like I'm supposed to, that's when the view is going to be absolutely perfect, and when I'm sitting down is when it's going to be looking a little bit too high. And so I don't know what the best thing to do. I've done a million different GoPro mounts on chin and blah, blah, blah. And if you put it on the front of your chin bar, then by the end of the race, when you're all sweaty, it sucks it down and your goggles keep getting pushed down on your face. So I'm just going to only run it on the chest mount and try to make it, the best it can, which obviously this is kind of like a little reminder all the time is like, hey, you should be standing up. Hey, you should be standing up. And so like here I'm standing up and the view is perfect. And so anytime it's not, it's because I'm riding like a punk and sitting down. So anyway, that's the, that's why the camera angle is questionable. I've never run one of those 360 cameras. And as you guys are probably can tell from this, my editing skills are horrible anyways. So I'm not really trying to add to the difficulty level required. So you can see right here, like this guy is like probably struggling a little bit in the deep sand, which I would be too if I wasn't on an electric bike. If I had to manage a clutch and make sure I was in the right gear, you're just not always going to be in the perfect one. Now, if you're like on a 250 4-stroke and riding it like you're mad at it, probably not going to be a problem. But I don't ride like that. I tend to do best on a 2-stroke, and I also like to short shift, and so it's just not a riding style that's conducive to like kicking ass in deep sand. But this guy's doing pretty well because you can see he's got points where he pulls away from me. The Stark can be a big advantage in the sand in that it's you never run the wrong gear and instantaneous power all the time. And then also I run the double handbrakes, which I feel like is an advantage for me. It allows me to stand more because if I'm coming into a corner hot and I know it's 50-50 on whether I'm not going to like need to fully lock up the rear brake, on my 300 I'm just always sitting down to cover the rear brake, because when I stand when I'm riding like I'm supposed to, I don't try to cover the rear brake. I'm always on the balls of my feet. And so if I'm coming into a corner fast and hard, I always slide down into the sitting position, which, kind of works. But, if you can stay standing and gives you a little more, suspension and blah, blah, blah. For me, I will carry a little more speed, but I don't trust it unless I've got like a really good berm. So, anyway, that's, it's just kind of the advantages and disadvantages. If you watch the Ride with the Knights guy, because I watch a lot of those, tutorial videos, like they will tell you, like, yeah, theoretically, balls of your feet is always best, but then you can't cover the rear brake. And so if you're in tight woods like this, I think what they do is they're standing up, but then, their right foot to cover the brake is actually slid forward, so they're more on their arches, so they can cover the brake. But I just don't ever trust myself if I'm trying to stand and ride on a gas bike. I'm only going fast enough that the front brake is gonna be all I need, or again I have to slide into the sitting position before I like when I'm really getting up into the corner. And so the Stark has been nice for that, to help me, focus on the technique of trying to stand more, and the being able to like equal braking to both wheels. Like theoretically on paper, that's what we should do. It's pretty helpful for that. So here's some guy in another class flying by me, and then he's probably really going to gap me when we get out into the open because I'm pretty horrible at that. That deep section that we just went through, that was not very hard on the Saturday sprint race, but man, on the Sunday long course, that sand was like, it was 7 feet deep. It was so difficult, and I did okay. It was on this. One of the disadvantages probably of the electric bike is it does weigh a ton. Like on my 300, I can just be under acceleration in any gear, not necessarily hard. And if there's just the slightest bump in the thing, I can like pull the front wheel up. But on this, you are not pulling the front wheel up. I don't care who you are. You are only going to have it like, you know, you're going to need the power of the engine to lift because it is so heavy. And so, you know, what you're supposed to do in the deep sand is ride fast enough to stay on top of it, which, you know, I'm barely fast enough to do in the straight. I'm not fast enough to do in those like tight woods. So those were a challenge. And then, man, I felt bad for like the C riders because you could see they were struggling and they would, you know, do their best to get out of the way. But that was just a brutal section of the track on Sunday. Here on the sprint race, it's not really that bad. So here I am in the field section, just trying to minimize the damage where I know I'm going to be slow and catch up to that guy who's in front of me, who I'm guessing his name was Brian McCormick. I don't really know him, although I guess I've raced against him a couple of times. Because according to the result sheet, he was in second on lap 2, and then he let me by on lap 2. And then I don't know if he was saving a little bit for the long race on Sunday or whatever, but he seemed to kind of chill. He didn't get the third lap in this race. This was a really short sprint race. Like I was talking to Tanner Myers after, and he said he got the white flag or the checkered flag at like 28:30. Because again, you know, they got to stay on schedule. So if it's one of those situations where you got to let some people run a full extra lap, it's just going to throw the schedule off, and they have to like make a reasonable decision, which is one of my favorite things about the Great Plains series versus other series I've run, is they run on time. So I'm as neurotic as it gets when it comes to being on time. Like when my patients are late, I get angry and resentful. It's probably not the most professional thing, but nothing pisses me off more than people being late. And so the fact that Great Plains makes, you know, such an effort to run on time, and they've got such, you know, high numbers, I think that's, you know, just really speaks to their professionalism and how well run the series is. So if like every once in a while you get quote unquote cheated out of that last lap, I'm all for that, to start on time, because my friends will make fun of me all the time about how little I'm allowed to be gone, you know, with, you know, other responsibilities like kids and stuff. But I try to be as efficient as possible with time on that. So you can see right now this tight section, I'm doing pretty well because I'm standing up, which is why the camera angle doesn't look ridiculous. And this is a section that, you know, for me historically I'd be like 50-50, and I want to be sitting a little bit. And so anyways, that's just one of the advantages of the Stark, is that it gets you, that was a horrible turn. As you see, I should have like gone out. It's one of the things I got to work on is, you know, start wide, go narrow. Like I've watched Josephine Grisham's videos a lot, and I'll be like, what are you doing that? Why are you hugging the inside on these turns? And she's like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do that. And I'm the same way. It's like, I can see her do that. I can see me do that. And then, so not only am I slow in these sections just because I'm not going to go wide open on, you know, as fast as the bike can actually go, because I'm a little bit of a baby. But then if I take these punk ass lines, it makes me even slower. So there's a lot to clean up there. But anyway, so that's one of the reasons that I am trying to do this voiceover on this video, see if I can make something moderately boring, slightly less boring, and then try to learn from that by analyzing it. I'm actually probably pretty lucky that I didn't get caught by the dude who got third place in this race, which is Joseph Bahrain, I think. I don't really know that guy, but I think he's in both my classes on Saturday and Sunday. And he is like the opposite of me. First of all, he's a great starter. I think he's even on a four-stroke, and he's a great starter. So if you're a beginner, and that's why you're watching this, which is probably what the only reason you watch this is if you're trying to get better. Two strokes for dead engine starts, they fire faster, and so four strokes, they just don't fire as good. Now, some guys will do like the JD Walker trick, and they'll put like a full-on snowmobile battery in there, so it fires like a rocket. And then sometimes you just get lucky. But that dude, who ended up getting third, I swear he's on a four-stroke. And at least I think he is, and he's fast in the straights. Like they will go by me like I'm standing still in the straights, but then I'll do better in the tight stuff, which is kind of funny because if you listen to like performance coaches, they will always tell you get better working on your weaknesses than you do on your strengths. And I did that actually. I bought a 350 because I knew I'm fast in the tight stuff. I'm probably not going to get any faster in the tight stuff, no matter what bike I'm on. So I bought a 350 to force me to be fast in the straights because it has the power and it's more stable at speed and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it turns out I wasn't any faster. And all I did was I started slower, and so my not great starting got worse, and I think my results actually suffered, even though in the tight stuff I probably was just as fast. Obviously, four strokes are easier to stall, and with that 350, I didn't want to spend them, $1,600 on the top end recluse. So I never got a recluse for that thing. So occasionally you stall, and you can do the poor man's recluse of just cranking up the idle. So I just was never really that fast on the 350, and I think that's just me. I'm not going to go 70 miles an hour in these fields. I'm just going to do my best in the tight stuff and make it up and try to be the least amount crappy on the starts I can be. But yeah, I was lucky not to get caught by that Joseph guy in the field, because I bet he puts 30 seconds on me in the field. And even on his last lap, my last lap was a 12:43, and his last lap was a 12:17. So he was probably catching me really fast. But this guy, I think, is Brian McCormick. I'm not sure. But anyways, I just whooped at him a couple times, and he was really cool and pulled over. And so I was able to get second place, which is by far my best finish in one of these sprint races. So the rest of this race was pretty uneventful, and it also cut off early. I don't know what's going on with my GoPro, but it just sat in a drawer for 18 months. So I don't know if it's not working like it's supposed to, but because it shouldn't have run out of battery on this race, but I think it cut off before the end. But I didn't really go down in this race, and I only made the one pass that where the dude just let me by. I didn't really pass him, and so that's really kind of it. Um, so yeah, so thanks for watching.